The Thunder had pretty standard expectations going into this season. Maybe a top 5 team in the West, maybe a team that can make the conference finals. But nobody, and I mean nobody, thought they would be this dominant. By the end of the 24-25 regular season, the Thunder weren't just good, they were terrifying. They dominated the Western Conference, stacked up a league-best 68 regular season wins, played with incredible chemistry, and showed flashes of a team that could be on the verge of a dynasty. And while their MVP and S.G.A. and breakout star Jalen Williams grabbed plenty of headlines, the scariest development for OKC's future, it might just have been Chet Holmgren. After missing his rookie season due to injury and flashing potential as a rookie, Chet took a massive leap forward in his second year, becoming not just a contributor, but a cornerstone. His rim protection, his floor spacing, his ability to completely change the Thunder's defensive identity. It was no longer a question of if Chet would become a star. It became a question of how high his ceiling could reach. Because while the rest of the NBA world spent the season fixated on Victor Wembanyama's every move, they might have missed the even scarier truth happening right in front of them. Chet Holmgren quietly built something special, and he did it inside a winning culture, on a team that's already ready to compete for championships. And if you weren't paying attention, you're already too late. The Thunder have pulled off one of the fastest, smartest rebuilds in modern NBA history. And the crazy part, almost nobody outside of Oklahoma saw it coming this fast. After trading away stars like Russ, Chris Paul, and Paul George between 2019 and 2020, the Thunder seemed destined for a long, painful rebuild. They stockpiled first-round picks like they were prepping for the NBA's apocalypse. They took flyers on young players, built a war chest of assets, and stayed patient. But somewhere along the way, that patience turned into something much scarier, a full-fledged contender. At the center of it all is Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, the MVP candidate nobody can ignore anymore. Once viewed as just a nice piece in the Paul George trade, Shai has blossomed into potentially the league's best scorer. He averaged over 32 points a game, leading one of the most efficient offenses in basketball, and becoming the face of a team that genuinely believes they can win it all. Beside him, Jalen Williams has emerged as one of the most exciting young wings in the game, a versatile, unselfish scorer who can defend multiple positions and create his own shot whenever needed. But the secret weapon, the piece that ties it all together, that's Chet Holmgren. When Chet is on the floor, OKC doesn't just play well, they dominate. He protects the rim, he spaces the floor, he takes pressure off Shai and Jalen defensively and offensively. The Thunder have transformed from a fun league pass team into a legitimate juggernaut in the Western Conference, and they did it faster than almost anyone thought possible. Some teams spend a decade rebuilding and never sniff contention. OKC, they flipped the script in just a few short years, and they're just getting started. Chet Holmgren's arrival isn't the only reason the Thunder are winning, but make no mistake, it's one of the biggest reasons they've leveled up from hopeful to terrifying. And the best part, this team still isn't anywhere near its ceiling. Before Chet Holmgren ever stepped onto an NBA court, there were doubts, big doubts. Coming out of Gonzaga in 2022, the talent was obvious. Chet was a 7-footer with guard skills, insane shot-blocking instincts, and the ability to hit three-pointers like a wing. But everywhere you turned, the conversation around Chet was never just about what he could do. It was about whether his body would hold up. He's too skinny, he's going to get bullied in the NBA, he won't survive a full season against grown men. Scouts worried that Chet's thin frame, weighing just 195 pounds at the NBA Draft Combine, would be a permanent barrier to success at the next level. And to make matters worse, those fears seemed validated almost immediately. During a Pro-Am game in the summer of 2022, Chet suffered a devastating Lisfranc injury in his right foot while defending a fast break drive by LeBron James. The diagnosis, season-ending surgery before his rookie year even began. It was a brutal setback, and for many young players, an injury like that so early could have sent their entire career off course. Chet was faced with a choice. He could let the doubts define him, or he could disappear for a year, put his head down, and turn himself into something nobody was ready for. And that's exactly what he did. While other rookies were battling for playing time, Chet was working behind the scenes, bulking up, studying the game, rebuilding his body from the ground up. He reportedly added 13 pounds of muscle during his recovery, carefully reshaping his frame without sacrificing mobility. He worked on his ball handling, refined his shooting mechanics, and sharpened his timing on defense. Most importantly, he strengthened his mentality. By the time the 24-25 season rolled around, Chet Holmgren wasn't just back, he was better. He wasn't a player desperate to prove he belonged, he was a player ready to dominate on his own terms. And all those early doubts, the questions about his frame, his durability, his ability to survive in the NBA, they're starting to sound a whole lot quieter, because Chet didn't let the injury break him, he let it forge him. And now the rest of the league is starting to realize they might have made a huge mistake by ever doubting him in the first place. Chet Holmgren's second NBA season hasn't been perfect. It's been something even scarier, a glimpse of just how dominant he can become. After a strong rookie campaign in the 23-24 season, where he finished as a finalist for Rookie of the Year, Chet entered this season with even higher expectations. And early on, he was delivering. Through the first few months of the 24-25 season, Chet was putting up impressive numbers. 15.2 points, 8.4 rebounds, and 2.8 blocks per game. He was shooting over 53% from the field, nearly 36% from three, and maintaining a free throw percentage near 80%. Absurd efficiency numbers for a 7-footer. Defensively, he was a game changer. The Thunder's defense ranked among the top 5 in the league when Chet was on the floor, with a defensive rating nearly 8 points better when he played. But then, adversity struck. On November 10, 2024, Holmgren suffered a pelvic fracture during a game against the Golden State Warriors. The Thunder announced he would be sidelined for 8 to 10 weeks, raising new fears about his durability. Yet once again, Chet responded the way that great players do. Instead of falling behind, he stayed engaged with the team. He continued working on his shooting, refining his game mentally, and strengthening his lower body during rehab. He made his official return on February 7, 2025 against the Toronto Raptors. Despite missing almost 3 months, Holmgren immediately reasserted himself as a key pillar for the Thunder, and his impact goes way beyond the box score. Opponents shoot nearly 8% worse at the rim when Chet is defending. OKC's net rating improves by over 9 points per 100 possessions when he's on the court. The Thunder's rebounding and rim protection dramatically improve with Holmgren anchoring the middle. In the 2025 NBA playoffs, Holmgren has taken another leap, averaging 18.5 points, 7.5 rebounds, and 2.8 blocks per game in just 29 minutes. Most young players need years to mentally and physically recover from a major injury. Chet Holmgren needed weeks. And now as the Thunder gear up for a deep playoff run, Holmgren isn't just proving he belongs, he's proving he's the missing piece that could change everything. Because Chet Holmgren is no longer just promising, he's becoming unstoppable. Victor Wembanyama was supposed to be the biggest story of the NBA's next decade, and to be fair, in many ways he's more than lived up to the hype. He put together a dominant sophomore season, averaging 24.3 points, 11 rebounds, and 3.8 blocks per game. He's doing things on a nightly basis that seem physically impossible, chasing down guards at the three-point line, crossing people up off the dribble, and hitting step-back threes that leave your jaw on the floor. And yet, for all the highlights, for all the viral moments, there's one uncomfortable truth. The San Antonio Spurs are still one of the worst teams in the NBA. Despite Wemby's brilliance, the Spurs hovered near the bottom of the Western Conference standings with a record of 34-48, only ahead of teams like the Pelicans and the Jazz. Meanwhile, in Oklahoma City, Chet Holmgren is doing something far less flashy, but arguably even more important: winning games. When Chet is on the floor, the Thunder are one of the best teams in the league, both offensively and defensively. His presence completely changes the geometry of the game. Opposing guards think twice about driving into the paint. S.G.A has more room to operate because defenses have to respect Chet's three-point shot. The Thunder's overall defensive rating improves dramatically with Holmgren on the floor. In fact, while Wemby leads all rookies in blocks per game, Chet is posting similar defensive impact numbers with fewer touches and less usage, all while contributing to the best team in the NBA. Wemby might have the flashier highlights, but Chet has something that scouts and front offices value even more: consistent, winning impact. And let's not ignore the context. Wemby has the Spurs built entirely around him. Every possession, every system is designed to maximize his growth. Chet fits into a fully functioning Thunder offense and defense, sacrificing touches, taking smarter shots, and focusing on team success first. In many ways, it's harder to do what Chet is doing. It's easier to put up stats on a bad team. It's much harder to blend into a winning environment, raise the ceiling of your teammates, and make yourself essential without needing to dominate the ball. Per 100 possessions, Chet's numbers are shockingly close to Wemby's, with slightly better three-point efficiency and a much higher assist-to-turnover ratio. And if you measure team success, it's not even close. Chet Holmgren is impacting winning at a much higher level right now than Victor Wembanyama. The scary truth? Chet might not just be in the same conversation as Wemby, he might actually be ahead of him when it comes to understanding how to win games in the NBA. What makes Chet Holmgren so terrifying isn't just that he's 7 feet tall, it's the way he plays the game, a fusion of skills that seem almost unfair for someone his size. Offensively, Chet Holmgren is the prototype of the modern big man. He's not shackled to the paint like old-school centers. Instead, he's constantly pulling opposing bigs out to the perimeter, forcing them to either guard him 25 feet from the basket or watch him rain down threes at a 37.2% clip from deep. And it's not just catch-and-shoot jumpers either. Chet can attack closeouts, put the ball on the floor, and create offense off the dribble, rare traits for a 7-footer. In transition, he runs the floor like a wing, often leading fast breaks himself. You can't just put a slow-footed big man on him. You can't switch a smaller forward onto him without getting punished inside. And you definitely can't leave him open from deep. Chet's offensive skill set is a walking mismatch nightmare. Defensively, Chet's impact is even scarier. Despite his still developing frame, he's already one of the NBA's best young rim protectors. He averages 2.3 blocks per game, but that only tells part of the story. While Holmgren is on the floor, opponents shoot under 55% at the rim, one of the best marks among all big men. His timing is immaculate. He doesn't just chase blocks for highlight reels, he alters shots smartly, staying vertical and avoiding fouls. His footwork and hand positioning are elite for a player his age. Even more impressively, he can switch on to guards when needed. You'll often see Chet hedge pick and rolls, recover to his man, or stay with quicker players on the perimeter without getting roasted. A defensive versatility that most true centers can only dream about. In a league increasingly built around pick and rolls, isolation attacks, and small ball lineups, Chet Holmgren is the rare big man who isn't a liability in space. He's a weapon. Physically, Chet has already made huge strides since entering the league. He came into the NBA weighing about 195 pounds, but after a year of injury, rehab, and focused strength training, he's closer to 210 or 215 without losing mobility. And it's clear he's still not done. Chet's frame has plenty of room to add another 10 to 15 pounds over the next few seasons, which will make him even more dominant in the post and better equipped to battle against heavier centers like Joel Embiid or Nikola Jokic. Beyond the physical tools, what separates Chet is how smart he plays. He rarely forces bad shots, he communicates constantly on defense, he rotates instinctively, knowing exactly where to be before the play even develops. It's no coincidence that OKC's defensive scheme looks elite with Chet anchoring it. His motor, focus, and willingness to do the dirty work, setting hard screens, boxing out, and switching assignments, are the subtle parts of his game that show he's not just talented, he's committed to winning. Chet Holmgren isn't just a tall player who can shoot. He's the living embodiment of where the modern NBA is headed. Versatile, smart, positionless, deadly. And the most terrifying part, he's still just scratching the surface of what he can become. It's easy to see why Victor Wembanyama gets all the headlines. He's a walking highlight reel. The flash, the flare, the viral blocks and dunks that flood social media every night. But if you're paying attention to actual basketball impact, if you're watching what it takes to win games at the highest level, you might come to a different conclusion. Chet Holmgren is developing just as fast, maybe even faster. And that's the truly terrifying part. In today's league, big men who can't shoot or defend in space are becoming extinct. Every title contender in the last 5 years, from the Warriors to the Nuggets, has thrived by spacing the floor, switching defensively, and weaponizing versatility. Chet Holmgren is a perfect fit for that model. He's already an elite rim protector. He's already a 37% three-point shooter. He can already defend guards, wings, and bigs without being exposed in pick and rolls. Very few players at any position can check all of those boxes. And Chet is doing it at 7'1", 215 pounds at just 22, soon to be 23 years old. Imagine what he'll look like after 2 or 3 more off seasons of NBA-level strength training and skill development. One of the biggest misconceptions about young stars is that you have to dominate the ball to be impactful. Chet's proving that's not true. He doesn't need over 20 shot attempts a night. He doesn't hijack the offense. He fits within a system, setting screens, making smart cuts, knocking down open threes, protecting the rim, all while elevating the players around him. In fact, according to on-off court data, the Thunder's net rating jumps by nearly 10 points per 100 possessions when Chet is on the floor, an absurd number for a second-year player. He's not chasing stats, he's chasing wins. And if history has taught us anything, it's that the players who prioritize winning over numbers, the Tim Duncans, the Kawhi Leonards, the Giannis Antetokounmpos, are the ones who end up carving out legendary careers. The only major red flag surrounding Chet's future is durability. He already lost a full rookie year due to a Lisfranc foot injury. He missed almost 3 months this season with a pelvic fracture. Big men with foot and lower body injuries always carry risk. That's just reality. But here's the encouraging part. Chet bounced back stronger from both injuries. His mobility hasn't declined, his shot hasn't suffered, and his defensive instincts are sharper than ever. If he can avoid another major injury over the next few seasons, if his body continues to mature and can hold up under the grind of 82-game seasons and deep playoff runs, then the ceiling for Chet Holmgren isn't just All-Star, it's All-NBA First Team. It's Defensive Player of the Year. It's MVP conversations. Not good starter, not solid big man, face of the league potential. A star hiding in plain sight. Victor Wembanyama deserves every bit of praise he's getting. But in Oklahoma City, Chet Holmgren is quietly building a case that he could be every bit as dominant, and maybe even more impactful, on winning basketball in the long run. While the world watches Wemby highlights, Chet is busy stacking wins, building habits, forging a legacy. And if he stays healthy, we might look back a few years from now and realize that Chet Holmgren wasn't just part of the conversation with Wembanyama, he was the conversation. The scary truth about Chet Holmgren is simple. He's not just living up to the hype that surrounded him as a high school phenom or a top NBA draft pick. He's exceeding it. Think about what he's already overcome. A devastating Lisfranc foot injury that cost him his entire first season. A serious pelvic fracture that sidelined him for nearly 3 months. Endless doubts about his skinny frame, his durability, and whether he could physically survive the grind of the NBA. And yet, through it all, Chet hasn't just survived, he's thrived. At just 22, about to be 23 years old, he's already an elite rim protector, an efficient offensive weapon, and a centerpiece on one of the best teams in the league. He's helped transform the Thunder from a scrappy rebuild into a legitimate title contender. Meanwhile, many of the players who were hyped up more than Chet, the ones who got more media attention, the ones who got labeled can't-miss prospects, are either struggling for minutes or watching the playoffs from home. And the craziest part, he's still just scratching the surface of what he could become. If Chet stays healthy, if he continues refining his offense, building his body, and sharpening his instincts, he's not just going to be a good big man for years to come. He has the chance to be one of the defining players of his generation. And while the world stays obsessed with the flashier names and bigger headlines, Chet Holmgren might just be quietly building a legacy that outlasts all of them. Now let's ask the real question. Could he actually surpass Victor Wembanyama as the most impactful young big man in the NBA over the next 5 years? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments. I'm genuinely curious what you think. And if you enjoyed this deep dive into Chet Holmgren, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you never miss another breakdown. And we'll see you in the next one.